Greetings. Welcome to this week's edition of Hymns of Hope. I'm Andrew Schaeffer, Director of Music here at Lutheran Memorial Church in Madison, Wisconsin. This week we are going to be taking a look at one of the most beloved hymns of the church. In fact, it may be the most beloved hymn of the church, and I dare you to argue with me on this point. We're going to talk about Amazing Grace. This is a hymn that knows no denominational boundaries, and we're going to take a look at why that may be. Of course, the tune is very singable. It's actually an American tune from the Southern Harmony, Walker, and it, again, is a very, very easy tune to pick up, and certainly its use in popular culture has really ingrained it into our minds. I'm sure many of you could hum along with it. But I want to take a little bit more of a look at the text, and if you have your Cranberry Evangelical Lutheran Worship, you can turn to number 779 and follow along with me, although a quick trip to Google or Bing in another tab will also give you many different versions of this text. This text was written by an Englishman named John Newton. He was born in 1725 to a very devout Christian family. His mother in particular was adamant that he lived a life of faith, and he actually had quite a gift, a penchant for memorizing large chunks of scripture and could recall them at will, much to the delight of his mother. However, in his young adult years, he became involved with several unsavory people and situations, and actually took up the business of slave trading. Traveled the Mediterranean quite a bit. There was one time when he was living this life that he got caught up in quite a big storm. And history is replete with people making bargains and renewing their life of faith in the midst of grave danger. Certainly Jonah comes to mind, and our own Martin Luther early on in his own life. But John Newton really rediscovered his life of faith and praying to God that he would be saved from this storm. I should also add that he became enslaved himself as part of his journeys, and had to overcome quite a few obstacles to be released and to go back to England. So with a little bit of his life story in mind, and I forgot to add that when he was saved from this storm and when he was released from captivity and returned to England, he did become a pastor and penned many, many wonderful hymn texts, Amazing Grace being the most famous, but perhaps one of the other ones that you know is Glories of Your Name Are Spoken, which is also in the ELW as well as in the LBW. He also became quite a vocal abolitionist in England and devoted the rest of his life to freeing people from oppression. But like I said, really illuminates the text with that context in mind. Though many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come, 'tis grace that brought me safe thus far, he's referring to the storm, and grace that will lead me home. This hymn, again, speaks to so many people at so many different points of their life, because I think many people can relate to John Newton's experiences of being lost and away from Christ and finding a welcome home in God's grace. And as we look around our communities, around here in the United States and of course throughout the world, and see so much evil that is brewing, it's much of the time it's been under the surface, but particularly in the last few months, this evil has kind of percolated up and touched us in very profound ways. We may be without hope, but this hymn, Amazing Grace, really speaks to our ability to change and to find God's grace in the most amazing ways possible. So I hope you enjoy meditating on this beautiful text in the context of our current situation. The setting I'm going to play is actually by the great British jazz musician George Shearing, who died actually not too long ago. Some of you may have even heard George Shearing play in person. He was a very prolific traveler. When George would go out of town and after his shows, he would often return to his hotel room where he often had a piano waiting for him. And he liked to reflect on the great hymns of his faith that he heard as a child and jotted down these melodies. Now, he was a pianist, first and foremost. But one day he went to the American composer Dale Wood, who also died not too long ago, and asked him if he would help him transcribe these for organ. He thought that organ, of course, being so associated with the church, would be a very appropriate vehicle for these hymns. So this is George Shearing, edited by Dale Wood. It's a very charming setting, and I hope that it will touch your life today.